$18.6 trillion. That is the total net worth of every Canadian household combined as of the end of 2025. If you stacked that in $100 bills, the pile would reach past the moon. Twice. And the headlines love that number. Canadian wealth hits record highs. Ninth consecutive quarter of growth. The average household is now worth over $1 million. Open any newspaper, and it sounds like the entire country is bathing in champagne. But then you close the article, you put the phone down, and you look at your own bank account. The checking account with $3,200 in it. The credit card balance you have been meaning to pay off since last September. The TFSA you have not touched in 4 months. And a very quiet, very uncomfortable question starts to form in the back of your mind. If the country is so wealthy, why does it not feel like it? Today, we are going to peel back the most dangerous illusion in Canadian personal finance. Because the truth is, the wealth you see on a spreadsheet and the wealth you can actually spend are two completely different animals. And once you understand the difference, you will never look at a millionaire the same way again. Let us start with the big, impressive number. According to the UBS Global Wealth Report, there are approximately 2,291,000 millionaires in Canada. That is roughly 5.7% of the entire population. 1 in every 18 Canadians walks around with a net worth of $1 million or more. Sounds impressive, right? Canada has more millionaires per capita than France, more than Germany, and more than Japan. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. That number includes the value of the family home. Every single dollar of equity locked inside the bricks, the drywall, the roof over your head, it all counts. Now watch what happens when we strip it out. The Capgemini World Wealth Report uses a stricter definition. They count only investable assets, stocks, bonds, cash, RRSPs, TFSAs, business equity, everything except the primary residence. By that measure, Canada added just 11,000 new millionaires in 2024. The total number of Canadians with $1 million or more in liquid investable wealth sits at roughly 475,000. Read that again. When you remove the house, the number of Canadian millionaires collapses by nearly 80%. 2.3 million becomes fewer than 500,000. The country of champagne-popping millionaires suddenly looks very, very different. So where is all this so-called wealth hiding? Let us look at the national balance sheet. At the end of the third quarter of 2025, Canadian households held roughly $11.7 trillion in financial assets. That includes everything from pension funds and mutual fund shares to savings accounts and publicly traded stocks. But they also held $8.5 trillion in residential real estate alone. That is a single asset class, bricks and mortar, representing over 40% of total household assets. Now compare that to the financial accounts Canadians actually control day to day. The average TFSA balance in Canada? About $45,000. The average RRSP? Roughly $113,000. Combined, the typical Canadian household has somewhere around $155,000 in registered savings. That is not even close to $1 million. Meanwhile, the average home equity for a Generation X household is $666,000. For boomers, it is $551,000. So the math is brutally simple. For the majority of Canadian millionaires, their home is not just their biggest asset. It is their only meaningful asset. Strip the roof away, and the millionaire vanishes. Let me introduce you to someone. She does not have a name, but you know her. Maybe you are her. She is 58 years old. She lives in a detached home in Mississauga that she and her husband bought in 2003 for $310,000. Today, that home is assessed at $1.1 million. On paper, she is a millionaire. But here is her Tuesday night. She is sitting at her kitchen table with a calculator. The property tax bill just arrived. $9,200 this year. The furnace needs replacing. That is $6,000. Her husband's car needs new brakes. Her TFSA has $11,000 in it. Her RRSP, which she has not contributed to in 3 years, holds $62,000. She cannot sell the house. Where would she live? She cannot borrow against it without adding debt to a balance sheet that already carries $183,000 in outstanding mortgage. Her wealth is sealed inside the walls. She can see it on a net worth calculator, but she cannot buy groceries with it. This is what economists call asset-rich, cash-poor. And in Canada, it is an epidemic. A recent Globe and Mail investigation quoted UBS financial advisor Brenda O'Connor-Wanis, who observed that many Canadians still picture a millionaire as someone on a yacht or a private jet. The reality, she noted, looks completely different. The tension is that much of that net worth sits in things people cannot access on a day-to-day basis, mainly their home equity. And Fidelity Canada's 2025 retirement report found that pre-retirees believe they need about $1,020,000 to retire comfortably, and that figure does not include the home. If your $1 million net worth is almost entirely your house, you are not even halfway to what you think you need. Now, is this a uniquely Canadian problem? No, but Canada has it worse than most. Let us look at how other wealthy nations structure their household balance sheets. In Switzerland, the wealthiest country by average wealth per adult, about 54% of gross private wealth sits in non-financial assets like real estate and land. But pure bank deposits and liquid financial instruments still account for a meaningful share, and the Swiss pension system, particularly the second and third pillars, forces citizens to accumulate liquid, portable wealth outside their homes. Singapore is even more revealing. Roughly 41% of household wealth sits in residential property, similar to Canada. But here is the difference. 38% of Singaporean household wealth is held in cash, deposits, and CPF balances. Low risk, accessible, liquid assets. The average Singaporean household maintains a much thicker financial cushion beneath the roof. And Canada? We have over 40% of household assets locked in residential real estate, but our liquid savings tell a different story. The average TFSA sits at $45,000. Median RRSP contributions hover around $3,400 a year. Nearly half of all TFSA holders keep their money in cash rather than investing it. And our household debt-to-income ratio hit 177% by the end of 2025, meaning for every dollar of after-tax income, Canadians owe $1.77. We are a country of homeowners who feel wealthy, sitting on top of enormous mortgages with surprisingly thin liquid reserves. The house makes us look rich. The bank account tells a different story. So who are the Canadians who actually have $1 million or more that they can touch, move, and deploy at will? I spent time studying the Capgemini and UBS data, and 3 patterns emerge over and over again. These are not secrets. They are not exotic, but they are remarkably consistent. Habit number 1, consistent budgeting. This sounds painfully boring, and that is exactly the point. The liquid millionaires in Canada are not the ones who made one brilliant bet on a hot stock. They are the ones who tracked every dollar, every month, for decades. They knew their grocery spend. They knew their subscription costs. They knew exactly how much surplus income they had every single paycheck, and they directed it somewhere intentional. Budgeting is not about restriction. It is about awareness. You cannot build liquid wealth if you do not know where your money goes. The house-rich, cash-poor Canadian typically has no budget. The money comes in, the mortgage goes out, and whatever is left covers life. There is no surplus. There is no system. There is only a very expensive roof. Habit number 2, frequent automated investing. Statistics Canada data shows that only 6.3 million tax filers contributed to an RRSP in 2023. Just 7.5 million contributed to a TFSA. In a country of over 30 million adults, that means the majority are not contributing to either account in any given year. The liquid millionaires? They contribute every single month. Not large amounts necessarily. The median RRSP contribution in 2023 was just $3,420, but they do it automatically. They treat it like a bill, and they invest that money. They do not let it sit in cash. They buy index funds, dividend-paying stocks, or balanced portfolios, and they let compound growth do the heavy lifting over 20 and 30-year time horizons. The TFSA contribution room for someone eligible since 2009 is now $102,000. If every dollar of that room were invested and compounded at a modest rate, the account alone could hold well over $200,000. But the average Canadian TFSA balance is $45,000. The gap between the room and the reality is the gap between paper wealth and liquid wealth. Habit number 3, aggressive debt elimination. Canada's household debt just crossed $3.2 trillion. Mortgages alone make up 75% of that figure, and the debt-to-income ratio, 177%, is among the highest in the developed world, and consistently higher than the United States since 2011. The liquid millionaires attack debt with the same discipline they bring to investing. They pay off high-interest consumer debt first. They accelerate mortgage payments when rates allow. They refuse to borrow against their home equity for lifestyle spending. They understand that every dollar paying interest is a dollar not compounding in their TFSA or RRSP. And here is the key insight. They do not view the house as their retirement plan. They view the house as a place to live, and they build their retirement separately in liquid, accessible, diversified accounts that they control completely. So let us come back to where we started. $18.6 trillion in total Canadian household wealth. It is a staggering number, and it is real. But it is also misleading, because it counts the value of something most people will never sell, cannot easily access, and should not depend on for their financial future. The real question is not, what is your net worth? The real question is, if you needed $100,000 in 30 days, could you get it without selling your home? For 2.3 million Canadians, the answer on paper is yes, because they are technically millionaires. But for nearly 80% of them, the honest answer is no. Their wealth is locked in the walls. It lives in the property tax assessment, not in the brokerage account. It looks like freedom on a spreadsheet and feels like a trap in real life. The shift that separates the truly wealthy from the merely house rich is a mindset change. It is the decision to stop measuring wealth by the number on your home's appraisal and start measuring it by what your money can actually do for you tomorrow. Can it cover an emergency? Can it generate income while you sleep? Can it survive a housing market correction without your life falling apart? That is liquid wealth. That is real wealth. And in a country where the average home costs more than most people will earn in a decade, it has never been more important to know the difference. Start budgeting. Start investing. Start eliminating debt. Not because a YouTube video told you to, but because the gap between the millionaire you appear to be and the millionaire you actually are might be the most important number in your financial life. If you learned something from this video, hit that subscribe button. I will see you in the next one.